To order. And please note that everyone but Kitten and Sherry are present. And should we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we don't have anyone here for the open forum. Could we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And can we have another motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Madam Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the personnel consent agenda.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
If I could make a couple of comments. First of all, we have a new grounds maintenance supervisor, Eric Steinoff. Do an excellent job. I personally know him very well. And I'll get back to it later.
Okay. And should we have committee reports, policy?
No policy.
Southwest Metro Intermediate District?
Southwest Metro met last Tuesday, and it was a good meeting. We had a report from the various leaders of the different programs, and everybody's off to a nice start. The numbers are good as far as having enough students to make the programs worthwhile as far as numbers are concerned. And everybody feels quite positive about the start of the school year.
CPAC?
No CPAC meeting.
Community Ed?
Madam Chairperson, I sure like saying Madam Chairperson. First of all, Community Ed, National Community Education Day is on November the 8th. On that day, refreshments will be available in the Community Ed office area. In addition, people who share a picture or story on Facebook regarding a class or event they have participated in will receive a percentage off the next class and opportunity to win gift certificates for future classes. Community Ed is looking for ways that top customers for 2017-18 can be acknowledged. This group, for their loyalty to Community Ed, they have 563 customers who have spent over $1,000 so far since 2017. 109 have spent over 5,000. 10 customers have spent over 10,000. The addresses of the top 100 customers show 8 different cities of residence. The top customer spent $14,873. This family participated in youth classes, sports, theater, swimming lessons, kids company, preschool, and rap. Good. Community education helps to sponsor the Halloween party at Elko New Market, which will be held on Saturday the 27th from 10 o'clock till noon. This is an announcement that I don't know how to give, but I'm going to give it. This event in Elko New Market was listed in the Wall Street Journal's article that listed Elko New Market as the best place to trick or treat in Minnesota. In the month of October, the popular classes in order: driver's education in the classroom, cooking classes, midterm elections, current events, college planning tips, ACT prep, youth wrestling, point of impact, science and nature conference, and the church basement ladies, you barn trip to Ames Theater. the next catalog will be coming out very early in December.
Thank you. Wellness Committee?
Wellness met a couple weeks ago, and it was based.
I still
oh, I'm
have,
sorry.
I'm not done yet.
Thanks, sir.
Get back to
First of all, I would like to congratulate the New Prague Teachers Association for putting on the public forum last week. It went very, very well, and all seven, or all six people running for the board represented themselves very well. And then my other question, a lot of people are asking me, Mr. Ditberger, what happened to Channel 20 on BevCom? It hasn't been going since August.
Yes, I talked to Mitch about that. We had a call on that too, and working with BevCom in the city to get that going again. Right now, they haven't been able to. So I believe it's a BevCom issue, according to Mitch.
Or are they supposed to watch?
It's on our website. That's why I had on my update here. The school board forum is on our website. I know Brian Triplett, or through Janelle today, sent it to all of our staff, the names of the school board candidates and the questions and everything like that. And then, like I said, all that can be found on our website, so you can watch the whole thing there.
Let me think. Our wellness meeting was a couple weeks ago, and it was basically a brainstorming meeting. They're looking for ideas or trying to come up with ideas for a district-wide challenge for the staff and administration. Last year they did bingo. I think they're going to do that again, kind of a wellness theme, and try to get people involved. And they're also looking for new ideas for their newsletter, just to try to keep people informed and to try to keep people interested in it. And for students, they're trying to come up with tips and tricks to try to have them try new and different foods, like a taste testing or something along that line. And then they have one event coming up on November 5th, the farm event again, 3:30 to 4:30 at the middle school kitchen. Assemble and take home a freezer-ready meal.
And early childhood will meet next week. The superintendent's report?
Yep. Well, Don stole a little bit of my thunder in the school board candidate forum, which, like Don said, went very well. 6 very good candidates. Thank Education Minnesota and Chamber of Commerce for sponsoring the event. We had about 40-some people here. And like I said, if you want to watch it, it is on our New Prague School District website, and you can see the whole forum. The other thing is Fitness and Aquatic Center. Rooms are all painted. We have the floors installed. Mirrors are on the wall. Basically just getting the electrical and the TVs up right now. We're expecting to be able to put the equipment will arrive October 31st, so early next week. And then we've got a big open house here on Saturday, November 3rd, from 9 to 12 and from 3 to 6. And the opening of the entire facility will be on Monday, November 5th. So they've been Megan Geeson and Heather Otto, the 2 Fitness and Aquatic Center managers, have been doing a lot of, along with Heather Teets from Mayo, have been doing a lot of registering new memberships and giving tours, and yeah, they've been very busy with that. We had a joint powers meeting earlier today. Jerry, how many memberships did we already get?
It's pretty good. They were pretty pleased with it. It's just been open 3 days. Here we go. Yeah. 131 for silver, 187 total on the silver and fit, and 52 on the silver sneakers. That's the biggest.
Yep, those are obviously from the fitness center. So
Right.
registration and getting new memberships is going good, and yeah, we're looking at things. Things are pretty positive in that respect. So just thought I'd share those 2 things.
Now we have the audit report.
So just want to introduce Andy. Andy is the lead auditor, the auditor manager on our audit. And they spent a couple days here in July and 3 days, I believe, in September. And he's with Bergen KDV, second year they are doing our audit and our financial statements, and things have gone very well. We have a good working relationship with them. They're very good to work with, and he's here to give the audit report tonight.
Thank you, Sandy. First off, just want to thank the board for having me here tonight. And name's Andrew Grice, audit manager at Bergen KDV, here to present the audited financial statements and audit results for the year ended June 30th, 2018. Also like to thank management and the finance team for their preparedness and their assistance in helping us complete the audit for this year. First, I'd like to look at the different audit reports that we issue, and the first one is the independent auditor's report. And I think it's important to highlight what the responsibility is of management and what our responsibility is as the auditor. It is management's responsibility to prepare the financial statements, and that includes the maintenance, design, and implementation of internal control in regards to the preparing of the financial statements. It's our responsibility as the auditor to come in and test, examine, and ultimately give an opinion on those financial statements. When it comes to that opinion, happy to report that we're giving a clean, unmodified opinion, which is the best that we can give as your auditor. And I'd like to congratulate the district on that. That means that this is a true and accurate picture of the financial position of the district at June 30th, 2018. We also issue a report for our single audit in accordance with uniform guidance. The federal program that was selected for testing this year was special education, and also happy to report that we were able to issue a clean, unmodified opinion on that program. We did note one internal control finding for that single audit related to suspension and debarment. Also, we did issue a report in accordance with government auditing standards, and we had one internal control finding, and that was a lack of segregation of accounting duties, which is a similar finding that we reported last year. And that's due to the limited segregation of accounting duties due to the limited finance staff available. We also issued a report in accordance with Minnesota legal compliance. OSA puts out legal compliance guides that we're required to test, and happy to report that we did not have any findings to report there. Next, we'd like to go over the general fund budget to actual results. The board approved a final and amended budget calling for $42 million in revenue, expenditures of $43.7 million, and then net other sources and uses of $272,000 to ultimately have a $1.4 million decrease in fund balance. Actual revenue was $42.4 million, which was $375,000 over budget, and actual expenditures were $42.6 million, which was $1.1 million under budget. And we'll go through the details of that on some following slides. That resulted in a $99,000 increase in fund balance for June 30th, 2018. To understand the general fund revenues, I think it's important to take a look at average daily membership, which is the enrollment data that the state uses to base your formula allowance or your general education aid. And this chart shows what that formula allowance is for the past 10 years here and also for 2019. When looking at enrollment or the average daily membership, this shows the last 5 years, and resident ADM increased 87 or 2.3% from 2017 to 2018, while total adjusted ADM increased 76 or 1.8%. You'll see here that the adjusted ADM is quite a bit higher than the resident ADM, and that's due to the open enrollment process. This next chart shows the general fund sources of revenue for the last 5 years, and overall, the district's general fund revenues increased just over $2.5 million or 6.4% from 2017 to 2018. Local property tax revenue increased $595,000 due to an increase in levy. Revenue from state sources increased just over $1.7 million due to an increase in special education aid, long-term facility maintenance aid, and general education aid due to an increase in formula allowance and the additional students served. This next chart shows the different general fund sources of revenue. 85% of the revenues received in the general fund are from state sources. while 10% comes from local property tax levies, and then other sources making up 5%, which includes donations and contributions, interest earnings, federal grants. The next chart shows general fund revenues budget to actual results. And overall, there was a 0.9% variance between the actual results of $42,413,000 and the final amended budget of $42,038,000. The largest budget variance incurred in state revenue, which was over budget by $276,000, primarily due to greater state aid entitlements for special education than what was anticipated. The next chart shows general fund expenditures budget to actual results. And in total, actual expenditures were under budget in the general fund by $1,086,000 or 2.5%. The largest variances occurred in instructional support services, regular instruction, administration, and special education. Instructional support services was $346,000 under budget due to fewer textbooks and capital purchases than anticipated. Regular instruction was $186,000 under budget due to fewer salaries and benefits than anticipated. Administration was $212,000 under budget due to an unspent contingency of $200,000. And special education was under budget by $179,000 due to budgeting conservatively for increasing special education costs. This next chart shows general fund operations for the last 5 years. For 2018, with the general fund revenues increasing 6.4% and expenditures increasing 2.8%, the general fund experienced an overall increase in fund balance of just over $99,000. At June 30th, 2018, the general fund had a total fund balance of $9,971,000. Of this amount, $1,371,000 represent restrictions, and these are the state mandated restrictions that earmark specific revenue for specific purposes that were not spent by the end of the year. Also, there was $264,000 in committed balances, also $7,284 in non-spendable fund balance, which makes up prepaid and inventory amounts. And that leaves an unassigned fund balance of $8,329,000 at the end of the year. It is the district's policy to maintain a target unassigned fund balance of 8% of annual expenditures at June 30th. And at June 30th, the unassigned fund balance represented 19.5% of annual expenditures. This next chart shows unassigned fund balance and cash and investment balances at June 30th for the last 5 years. And the gap that you're seeing here is the difference between, is the result of property taxes levied for subsequent years. Because that cash is received before year end, that cash is on the district's books. However, it is not applicable until the next fiscal year. The next chart shows the general fund financial health metric that the state uses to measure financial health for districts around the state. And that metric is unrestricted fund balance as a percent of expenditures. And the district's fund balance as a percent of expenditures has historically been higher than the average for all school districts. Fund balance as a percent of expenditures decreased in 2018 for the third consecutive year. The next chart shows food service fund operations for the last 5 years. And in 2018, food service revenues increased 2.9% due to an increase in students served. Expenditures decreased 0.7%, and this was due to one-time expenditures in 2017, including capital items and severance payments. Revenue and other financing sources exceeded expenditures in 2018 by just over $92,000. The next chart shows the community service fund for the last 5 years, and for 2018, community service revenues increased $868,000, and expenditures increased $920,000, as this was the first year of operations for the Aquatic Center. This fund also has some state mandated reserves, and overall, the community service fund balance increased $90,000 in 2018 to $490,000. That is it for the presentation for tonight, and I'd also like to open it up for any questions.
Go over. You're saying everything's good, that's all we can go by, right? There's a lot of stuff here to go over. I think I'm satisfied with the audit.
Right, yeah, to find that everything is very clear and
Yeah.
concise and correct is what we want. Yeah, absolutely.
Else? Do you have to approve it?
Oh, can I have a motion?
We have to
to
approve it,
the-
right?
To
Okay.
approve the
I guess
report?
that's it.
I'll make a motion to approve the audit report.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Angel.
Carried.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Okay, now,
Ah, right.
We got enrollment.
now we have the enrollment projections.
Yes, okay, let me get this up here. He talks very fast, I'll try not to talk that
Yes.
fast. He knows his stuff, boy, let me tell you, he knows his stuff. Okay, so tonight, usually in October, I present updated enrollment projections based on our October 1 enrollment numbers. And I apply those, I put those enrollment numbers into our enrollment projection model. And as a reminder, I've been using that projection model since I started, so this is probably the 7th year, 8th year I've done this. And they've yielded pretty good results, and so I think the model we're using is very good, and we'll continue to use this model. First of all, kindergarten, that's the foundation for all of our enrollment projections, and last year we decided to use a blend of the 7-year linear progression and a 4-year county average. So this year, that projection just said we would have 296 kindergartners. We actually currently have 301. So pretty good. We're a little bit higher than our projection, which is good. To continue using this methodology, which is what I did, it shows a slight increase in kindergarten as we go for the next 3 years. So next year, our target would be 303. Actually, we've done a pretty good job in our current student information system. Been working with Samantha over the last couple of years and really getting those pre-K people into our student information system. And we feel this is probably the cleanest year we've had yet as far as projecting for next year. And we currently have about 320 students that would say our student financial system or student information system would say would be kindergartners next year. Now we know some of those have moved. We know that other ones will come in, but that's where we're at so far, which is, I think this is the cleanest year we've had so far when we're projecting kindergarten. But these projections would say we'd have 303. Excuse me. So I show the last few years of ADMs. This is ADMs, and actually, yeah, they. You can see the middle bar there is the 17-18 projected versus actual. We were within 2 students last year for the ADMs, which is phenomenal. That's pure luck on my part. It's not, I mean, I have a model
We're
that I
always
use,
pretty
but
close.
it was very close. Yeah, very close. The year before, we were 4 students off, so I think this model has served us very well. For this year, 18-19, we have projected 4,239. We currently have 4,256. This model would say we'd end up at 4,232, which is just 7 students less than we projected initially. So when I redo the revenue budget that I present in December, it'll show just a few less students. And then this shows the progression up for 5 years. We'd end in 23-24 at almost 4,500 students. I don't really go by much more than 3 years. I mean, it's pretty hard to project, but this shows a nice growth upwards. And these are the APUs. This is what actually our finances are based on, is on APUs, and you see a very similar trend there. So the growth from 17-18 to 18-19 would be a 1.1% growth, which is slightly less than what it was from 16-17 to 17-18 that Andy just presented. The average growth for the last 5 years has been 1.5% per year, and the average for next 5 years would be 1.2% per year. So that's what our current model is showing. This shows the current and projected enrollment by grade groupings, and that kind of gives you an idea for building, like the middle school. The highest we get is slightly over, 1,054 at the middle school. High school, we don't get to 1,500. We get to 1,429 with this model. And again, that's 5 years out. A lot can happen in 5 years. I have a tendency to only really look at about 3 years with any accuracy. Excuse me. This shows the charter and open enrollment out versus open enrollment in and net. You can see the net is the green line, green bar, and we've been showing a steady increase. 18-19 would show another increase as of where we were on October 1st. So our open enrollment net increase is steadily growing, which is a very good thing for us. Then I decided to just look at some 5-year historical growth information, just kind of some fun facts. This is what I do for fun in my free time. Just kidding. Resident students, over the last 5 years, the number of students attending charter schools has doubled from 20 to 40. So that's kind of interesting. Open enrolled out has increased only 9 students, or 3.9%. So over a 5-year period, if you compare 5 years ago to today, open enrolled out has only increased by 9 students. So we're really, we're not losing more students. And then those that placed at co-ops or intermediate districts has increased only 2 from 19 to 21. So as you see, as our student population keeps growing, we're doing a good job of managing our, special ed population. You send a student to a co-op or intermediate district, and it can be $60,000 to $70,000 to educate a student. So that's very good news that our place students haven't really increased that much. As far as total ADMs that we receive the gen ed revenue for, that has increased 288 students over 5 years, or 7.4%. This includes 2 tuition students. We do receive the gen ed revenue for tuition students that are placed at co-ops. 59 that increase is based on open enrollment, and 227 is based on resident students. So our resident student population is growing at a faster rate than our open enrolled, which I think is good. When I first started at the district, we actually had decreasing resident students for a couple of years in a row, so our resident students are increasing. So those are just a few little fun facts for a 5-year growth information. Any questions at all on these?
What's the attraction for charter schools? Any idea?
I really don't.
Okay.
I just know there's more.
There's more. Some are arts related.
That's what I was wondering. I thought
Some are
that was-
arts related.
So
The one in Henderson, I believe, has nature as kind of their thing. So they're specialized kind of for certain
Yep.
students that want some special type of activity or some type of special education.
yeah, and percentage-wise, we're well below the metro average for schools, losing kids to charter schools.
And we have none within, which is the closest? Is Henderson the closest one?
I'd say Henderson, Northfield,
Is there a charter school in Northfield?
thought there was, wasn't there? Yeah, there is.
I guess I don't know.
I
Is
should
there one
say.
in Waconia?
That'd be quite a ways.
Always, yeah.
I'm not sure.
Students
but-
attending those have to find their own transportation to them. Is
Yep.
that correct, charter schools?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few outliers, but.
Approve that?
Next.
Who's next? Oh,
Oh, next we have the 2019-2020 calendar.
yes, we're going to go over possible options for district calendar. As you know, we sent out a survey to all staff and all parents, and we had quite the response. In fact, we had, I think just slightly over, as I go through this, over 1,500 responses on this. But anyway, here's some things with the calendar. And as you know, Minnesota Department of Education allows districts to start and end early if we have construction projects of 400,000 or more. And we have had that for the last 4 years. So we've applied for a variance, demonstrated the need, and it's been approved. So we've started 1 week before Labor Day, as you can see there on those 4 consecutive years now. And school has always ended sometime in May. What we did, we sent out a survey, these calendar drafts, and actually even before we sent them out, I met with Brian Triplett, and he had a group of teachers give us some feedback and input on it before we sent it out. But before Labor Day with the spring break, before Labor Day with no spring break, and you can see where the school year ends, and then after Labor Day with no spring break, and after Labor Day with the spring break. So with the ending dates of May 28th and June 4th. So these 4 calendars were sent out, and then we got the results. Parents, we had almost 1,200 parents provide us input, staff 191, and it's really amazing how many staff are parents also, 166 on that. And what it shows you in that bar graph there is the amount of parents and staff that chose the 2 calendars before Labor Day. Parents, 65% of the parents preferred that, 75% of the staff, and you can see the ones that preferred after Labor Day. A question came up earlier today. We were discussing this with Sean. Last year when we did this same survey, it wasn't the same survey. We had 84% of the staff prefer starting before Labor Day and 74% of the parents. So in a way, a 10% drop, but keep in mind there was only 1 after Labor Day option. So we didn't have 4 like we did. We didn't have 2 and 2 the year before. We had just 2 before and 1 later. So, but still pretty much, very much the majority preferring the before Labor Day. So you can see here, the before Labor Day, this is what the parents chose. So, you know, like about 65%. The favorite one was with the spring break, ending at May 28th, 44% of the parents. Starting early with no spring break, 21%. And then you can see the ones with no spring break and the spring break, the dates they end there. So that was the parents one. Here's the staff. And again, that option A is the favorite one, ending May 28th with the spring break. And then, go back 1 second, Janelle. That's okay. Option D was interesting with the staff. They do not want ending in June, I can tell. 8% on that one. So, in summary, the majority of parents prefer the pre-Labor Day start. Majority of staff prefer the pre-Labor Day start. We do not have a $400,000 project, and it'd be sort of nice for the calendar, but it's really nice not to have all this construction over. So that isn't an option. But there's Minnesota Department of Education has an application where you can apply for a flexible learning year, and there's other districts that have done that in southwest Minnesota and west central Minnesota. And so I've got Sean Brandt will be working with me, and he already has. He's been doing, well, this whole PowerPoint is his, by the way. Have been working on this application. So we'll go through the process and timeline now. So we've done, again, we did the options. We created that. We presented to you as a school board in October at the work session. We just got done surveying parents and staff, and obviously, if the parents and staff the majority would have been in favor of starting after Labor Day and ending later, we'd just stop it right now. But obviously, and anecdotally, I could have told you this was going to be the results of the survey because it's been pretty popular after 4 years of doing this, starting before Labor Day. I'm giving the presentation to you tonight, and then we begin staff presentations, showing them what it is. We'll begin the flexible learning year application. And so what we need to do is in this application demonstrate need and benefits to student achievement, provide 3 community information meetings, and the application will be available in December, and we'll have that out, and by mid-March would be the very latest we'd find out, which is later than normal. And we have our calendar done before most school districts, but February and March, early March, mid-March is where most districts have their calendars done, even though we're getting, Janelle's already gotten a few calls from parents wanting to know what the calendar is. So again, some of these things with this application that we're looking at, and of course, we've got information from those districts that do this flexible learning year, Redwood Falls, Springfield, Minnesota. There's a group of districts that have done it. West Central Minnesota, there's Monticello. I'm sorry, not Monticello, Montevideo. And I can't remember some of the other districts that are going with them on this. But, obviously there's more instructional days. So we're taking a look at data there to prove this with MCAs, ACTs, higher student motivation in August versus spring, higher attendance rates, fewer discipline referrals, and obviously what I just showed you, the support that we have from parents and staff to do a pre-Labor Day start. So that will all be part of the application. We start the meetings, next week, the 29th and 30th at Eagle View and Lonsdale Public Library, and then we'll have one at the district office here on Monday, November 5th. So that's part of the process that we need to do. So I'm just going to open it up. I wanted to, obviously share this with you and also the public at this time and see if there's any questions.
What are the chances of it being approved or not approved? Do you have any idea or any percentage on that, or?
I have no idea.
No idea on that, okay.
I have no idea. I just know the school districts that have done it, that have applied for it, the ones I know that are doing it now, obviously, they didn't get turned down the first time. But
I thought Sean had said it was a pretty likely possibility that it would be approved. Or,
Well,
no?
I hope so. I have no idea, but
But comparing with other ones that have done it.
yes, I
Yes.
would say, yeah. I'd say you're correct on that.
And if it's approved, it's a yearly,
Oh, by the way, yes, I should mention this. It's for 3 years.
3 years, okay.
Yep, so we're not going to keep reapplying. So, for example, when I told you about Redwood Falls and Springfield and that group of school districts, they're already, I think they just finished they've done it 9 years now. So they're beginning, not all of them are doing it. I think there's like a bunch of them, like, I don't know how many, 12, 13 districts that were doing it. There's a lot less doing it now, but they're still doing it. So they have applied and got it approved to go another 3 years. Probably the biggest difference from us than them is that they were going 2 weeks before Labor Day on their start. So doing it this way, I think 1 week isn't as, it's hard to get the rationale as strong, but it's a lot more acceptable. What's the starting time? 6:30.
And then just a follow-up, if it gets approved for 3 years, you're still getting about a third of the parents that would like to see it after Labor Day. Maybe every 4 or 5 years, you could start after Labor Day once for 1 year. I mean, give them a shot too. I mean, yes, they're in the minority, but it's still every 5 or so. Give them a chance.
We can do that when you're off the board.
Or don't do it.
No,
I think-
it doesn't really matter to me. But.
I think we've done all the correct steps.
Well,
that-
yeah, right.
The surveys have been, and I think they've not been that close. I think the majority of people really seem to want to have a pre-Labor Day start. So I think we're doing the right steps as far as taking the survey and going with it and using what is available from the Department of Education.
And there might be on the 2 drafts. I mean, if we go with option A, if this gets approved, I mean, there might be some tweaks to the calendar, so it still goes for final approval to you as a school board, because we still need to go over it, and there might be a few changes on it. But by and large, I mean, that's the direction we'll go. If that's where we go.
Well, we're actually lucky that the survey is so one-sided, because in some districts where it's really close, it's a lot more difficult to come to a consensus on it. So.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with you. And like I said, I wanted to get feedback from the teachers and, you know, negotiations. They mentioned that they'd like to get more feedback, and there's mention of a calendar committee, which I don't believe we'll ever do a calendar committee because I've been part of that in a former district that does not work out very well. But we were able to, I think, get a lot of input and feedback, and whether through the survey or through them taking a look at it and giving their input that way, I think it's a positive way to go.
Any action?
I don't know, I just want to make sure you're okay with me moving ahead with having Sean, you know, go with the community meetings and stuff and continue the process. Again, this isn't final. I mean, you'll need to vote on that when we make a recommendation. If we get acceptance in this, and if it's a no, then, you know, we'll back to taking a look at the post-Labor Day start.
Now we have a resolution to accept a donation from the New Prague Rotary.
Yes, I'd like to entertain a motion to consider the resolution to accept a donation from the New Prague Rotary.
I'll make the motion. I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to consider the following resolution. Whereas the school board may accept a gift valued at $1,000 or more only by adoption of a resolution by 2/3 of its members, and whereas the New Prague Rotary wishes to donate $1,670 for the STEM program, now therefore be it resolved by the New Prague Area Schools Board of Education that it shall accept the donation under the prescribed condition of having it be for the STEM program. How do you vote on that, Jerry?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Don? Dennis, yes, item passes. And thank you to the Rotary for that donation.
Now we have another resolution.
The next resolution deals with membership in the Minnesota State High School League Foundation. Do I have a motion to consider this resolution?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to consider the following resolution, whereas the Minnesota State High School League Foundation was formed to provide support for Minnesota's high school youth to participate in athletics and fine arts, whereas District 721 School Board recognizes the value of students' participation in extracurricular activities, whereas the Minnesota State High School League Foundation is offering grants and funding to assist school districts in recognizing, promoting, and funding extracurricular participation by high school students in athletics and fine arts programs. Therefore, it be resolved that District 721 School Board supports the district's application to the Minnesota State High School League Foundation for the coming school year. How do you vote on this, Don?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Dennis, yes, item passes.
Nothing else? A motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. We are adjourned.